as you probably know, we've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela, large tanker, very large. Largest one ever seized, actually. And other things are happening, so you'll be seeing that later, and you'll be talking about that later with some other people.
Man, we got that oil, baby. I told y'all. So we've decided that it is prudent, that it's something that we definitely need to check out. We need to see that good old oil. U.S. seizes a Cuban-bound Venezuelan oil tanker, ramping up pressure on Nicolas Maduro. It's here's the thing. So this is the first time, at least in the recorded so far, of this conflict with Venezuela. I say conflict, but I don't know. Have they done strikes back at us yet? I don't know. There's a lot of information we're still seeking from this situation. But we have now seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela. And so the U.S. has not said the name of the vessel. They have not said what country's flag the vessel was flying. And they're just saying, but from reporting that we're getting from Politico, apparently this is a vessel that is called the Skipper. And this is a previously sanctioned vessel. And this vessel was heading towards Cuba. Now, these are some interesting facts, if true. And I think the biggest fact about this is that this is ramping up pressure on Maduro. This can destabilize markets, and this could influence, whether positive or negative, us and our pockets. So Venezuela exports almost 900,000 barrels of crude oil per day. And some of the stuff gets refined in other places. So like the crude oil that we get from Venezuela went up in the month of October from 120,000 to 150,000 barrels. And we refine a lot of that stuff in the Gulf of Mexico ourselves. China's their biggest buyer. And Venezuela is so worried about competition and pricing and keeping their funds up, they've reduced the cost of their barrels of oil as China buys it, as sanctions are coming from Russia. There's a lot going on. But if we begin to disrupt their biggest income driver, this could definitely be a different way for us to not use kinetic activity to get Maduro's ass up out of there. Now, I've said this before, I'm an American first type of guy. But I am also kind of like, Maduro's similar to Hugo Chavez. I don't like a lot of stuff that they do. The biggest thing is that oil in Venezuela is a socialist thing. It was taken over by the country in 1976. And there are some of our oil companies are in partnership with the actual mining of that oil, like Chevron, for instance, but it's still dominated by the state. The state controls who gets to buy the crap, where it goes, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the funny thing is that the Nobel Peace Prize opposition leader did not attend her ceremony for celebrating getting a Nobel Peace Prize, which just happened yesterday. And we get reports of this oil tanker. Are we kind of like the new Pirates of the Caribbean in a good way? I mean, all pirates aren't bad. Are we the new Pirates of the Caribbean? I'll take that. But here, listen, crude oil prices went up just from this news. West Texas oil, and this definitely has already influenced the market. Now, less than 1%, you may not feel that at the pump. I mean, we have like historically some of the lowest gas prices that we can have right now. But at the end of the day, if this escalates further and we have things such as the disruption of oil being exported from the country itself, not only could this become something where Maduro feels cornered, trapped like a rat, he feels like he needs to ramp up pressure. That's what I'm concerned about, is just like, does he try kinetic activity? Think about the military buildup that we have in the Caribbean. Probably close up to 20,000 troops in the area. We have 25% of our deployed Navy in the Caribbean, 10% of the Navy overall, the largest aircraft carrier in the world with the Gerald R. Ford is in the region. We have tons of F-35s in Puerto Rico, F-35s on the Ford. We have all sorts of super jets. We have we have an LHD with the Iwo Jima down there. We have submarines that we don't even know about. We know about one. We got destroyers. The Coast Guard helped take this tanker. So not only am I talking about a buildup of the Department of Defense or Department of War, but there's a DHS help take this vessel. That's Department of Homeland Security. And if the tanker is the skipper, and it was seized by us, confirmed by President Trump, this is different. Okay. Because one thing I want to talk about is not only we have that, but we already talked about the survivors of that first strike that we did on September 2nd. Was it a crime? Was it not? I don't know. We'll figure out all that. But apparently, after that first strike in the month of September and October, there were 3 more survivors of other strikes, which we handled completely differently. For one of the strikes, there was 2 survivors. We sent them back to their home countries of Ecuador and Colombia. Initially, the DOD told the State Department that they wanted to send them to El Salvador, to a maximum security prison, and the State Department was a little surprised by that statement. There was another strike that took place in the Pacific side. There was 1 survivor. We told the Mexican Navy about it. They did a rescue mission and they never found him. That guy's presumed to be dead. So there's a lot going on. Okay. I think that we have so much going on in our part of the hemisphere, the Western hemisphere, our backyard, that I hope that other things don't rise up, like the Hezbollahs, the Hamases of the world. We're pretty big military. We can handle a lot of different stuff. But my overall point is that this, I believe, escalates things in a different type of way. I still believe that we don't have that many troops in the area to do nothing with them. Could we use forced sanctions to get Maduro up out of there? This type of stuff could disrupt the economy of Venezuela. This could have people from inside rise up. If the flow of money is diminished, and this is their largest export, if this is diminished through us intervening and starting to take vessels and stuff like that, then this could make the people in Venezuela say, it's time to get your ass up out of here. All right. We've tolerated you a lot, and that's a big thing that could be next. For me personally, I'm always thinking about how could this affect me directly. Us getting crude oil from a ship. Maybe it's the spoils of war. I don't know. Maybe I'm still don't know how. I need to know more information about why we were able to take this ship, what country's flag the ship was flying. Was it a sanctioned vessel? Was it really the skipper? That's the name of the vessel. Reportedly, these are things that I'm wondering about. And did our crude oil intake just go from 150,000 to a whole 100,000s of more because of what was on that vessel? That's something else I'm curious about. There seems to be a lot of conscription of people in Venezuela forcing to join the military. Are they going to do anything with that? So much to digest. And I don't want us to take our eye off the ball, because in the National Defense Authorization Act, we had Congress just authorize more money to go to Ukraine. And we're going to worry about that. We still have all the stuff going on in the Suez area with Yemen and the Houthis. And we still have everything going on with anything Israel touches, we're involved in, whether it is Gaza or Iran or whatever. And then we got this going on. I feel like I don't want us to become more and more stretched thin. I would like for us to definitely focus on ourselves a little bit more. But I really want to just know what is going on in the Caribbean. Are we the new Pirates of the Caribbean? Is this a thing that we can proudly wear? Should I begin to grab myself a shirt? I don't know. I'm going to talk to my father-in-law about this. He lives in Venezuela. Have they heard about this? Is this being blocked out? I'm curious about that. A lot of communication for he and I happens through the social medias, and a lot of times this stuff is purposely blacked out by the government to kind of keep stuff squashed. And as we learn even more, like that first vessel that we struck on September 2nd apparently was going to Suriname, which is and I'm probably mispronouncing the name of the country if I am pound sand, but apparently that vessel was eventually going to make its way to Europe with that coca, with that good old cocaine, with that nose blow, and not be going to America. And is that true? Is that information that we need to know? Why do we treat the other survivors different in the rest of September and early October than we did those first 2? where does this really this gives me the feeling of historically, I'm a guy that likes history a lot. And it does seem that our worldview is shifting similar to how it was previous to World War One, which is everybody concern themselves and don't worry about what's going on around you. And I don't necessarily always want it to be that way. But comment down below. What do you think about this? Is it concerning that we just took this stuff up? You're not too worried about it? Are you happy about it? First time stopping by, hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you a part of the battalion. If this is not your first time stopping by, well, thank you once again for watching me run my grape. For everyone else, we'll speak soon.